Okay, welcome to this project. I think I mentioned in an earlier video that I might get around to this one. I just did a 78 RPM record player, but I like this thing and I want to do it. This is, according to the tag, it says it is a Montgomery Ward or Airline 94-GHM-926B. It is a 78 RPM only record player, and I got it at the local charity shop for I think $15. It's in pretty good shape. I've taken the screws out. Had it apart yesterday, had it sitting outside to kind of air out. It doesn't smell that bad, but it just has that old musty smell a little bit, so I was just trying to do something about that. Have the clip off the turntable. This is going to need to be reflocked. It's kind of really just about bald. It's got this exact same motor and idler that the RCA 63E had, the one I just finished. So that'll be easy. I already have an idler for it, brand new one. Motors are, easy to do. This one I like. It's a little different because it has a tone control. Most of them don't. Most of them are just volume only. This one has a tone control, which is kind of nice. The tone arm, I have the spring loose right now, so we can get in there and look and see. Flip it over here. There's your original cartridge. It's missing the needle, but it basically was a needle. It has this set screw, and you pretty much had just a steel needle in there. And Gary at voiceofmusic.com, and he's the one to go to for parts and supplies for old record players, tells me that is a 4-volt cartridge. And the reason for that is it's just a one-tube wonder. It has 2 tubes, but it has a rectifier and an output tube, and that's it. So they refer to these as a one-tube wonder. So it's not going to have a lot of output. I cannot get anything close to a 4-volt cartridge these days. So you either modify the amp, or you replace the amp, or you just do the best you can, and that's what we're going to do. That's what the underside of it looks like. It has just a couple of capacitors under here, 3, and about 3 resistors, maybe 4. And the electrolytics are on top in this can. It's a metal can with a cardboard cover over it, and it says that we have a 60, maybe that's an 80, let me see. Yes, we have an 80, a 20, and a 20. An 80 at 150 volts, a 20 at 150 volts, and a 20 at 25 volts. So pretty easy, pretty basic. Speakers there, it's in good shape. I powered this up, and the amp does work. The cartridge doesn't, but the amp does work. You touch if you have it running and you touch the tone arm wires right here where they connect to the cartridge, it'll hum, and then you know that the amp works. So anyway, that is what we're going to do. Let me get this. This is a funny system. This is going to have to change because this little goodie on the cartridge, that little round thing there, is what this grabs onto to keep the tone arm locked down. So if I get rid of this cartridge, I'm not going to have that anymore. I'm going to have to figure something else out. So I will do that. I'll figure something else out. So what the plan is, I've been talking to some people on Facebook and stuff, getting some help on this. You take another electrolytic and you run it across this resistor on the output tube. This is a 180 ohm resistor. You run it across that resistor, and I guess that would be in parallel with it. And it'll boost your output a little bit and give you a little bit more bass. And so we're going to try that and see if that works. And I have a cartridge up here. This is I believe this is, oops. Let's see. This is, I believe this is the modern version of an 89T. This one happens to be for microgroove records for LPs and 45s. I've ordered the green version of this, which will have a 78 stylus, and it has an output of about 1.5 to 1.8 volts. So we're going to give that a try. we're going to put that in here, and that's about the best we're going to do. It's not going to have the kind of output it had with a 4-volt cartridge, but I think it'll be okay. It'll be fine for 78s. Just have to, once we get that going, we'll have to check the tracking force, because this thing had a 1 ounce. This is a real heavy tone arm. I don't have the spring attached right now, so it's just, you know, but it had a 1 ounce tracking force. So that, you know, we're gonna getting rid of that cartridge will lighten things up some, and then we'll just do whatever we can. If we have to adjust the spring and stuff, we'll do that to try and lighten up that tracking force even more. Anyway, this is going to be the next project. We get that Crosley radio finished, and we'll see if we can't get going on this right away. Like I said, it's in pretty good shape. The corners are a little dinged, but otherwise, you know, this fake alligator skin or whatever that's supposed to be is actually in really nice shape. And I just like it. I just think it's kind of cool. So, you know, I have to glue that down a little bit and things like that. But, you know, it's in pretty good shape. It's got, for some reason, I don't know what it is, but it's got some pink stuff, you know, here and back here. And you know, I don't know if somebody got carried away with a magic marker or something. But, yeah, it just looks weird. So I'll see what I can do about that. But anyway, that's it. There's your introduction on this one. So stay tuned for this, okay? Thank you. Thanks for watching. Hi, kids. Been working on this Suitcase record player, and I've already done the motor. I had some trouble with my video. I had my camera kind of in the wrong place, and so a lot of what I did when I was showing how to do the motor didn't show up. It was all too low. It was out of shot. So what I'm going to do is I have this other motor that's out of another 78 player. It's virtually identical, and I'm just going to show you real quick how this is done. These are always attached to some kind of a plate. You can see this is attached to this plate, and so is this one with these nuts and washers. And so what you want to do before you start is you want to take some pictures, make sure you get everything back together the same way, and then just take it apart. A 1/4-inch nut driver will work great on these, but you know, sometimes the screws are too long and you have to resort to a little crescent wrench or whatever, or a pair of pliers. And you just undo all the fasteners, and you know, take pictures and make sure you know where the washers are, the lock washers and things, and make sure that when you put it back together, it goes back together the same way. You'll have these spacers, you'll have these long screws, and like I said, a lot of times there are these little lock washers there that you'll need to you know, you'll need to account for. You'll need to make sure you put everything back together the same way. So a screwdriver and a 1/4-inch nut driver, or a crescent wrench, pair of pliers, and you just take all of this apart, take all of the spacers out. You know, these two here will be the ones that are holding it to the plate, you know, and then this one also will hold it to the plate. Usually they're held in place in 3 places, like this one, 1, 2, 3, you know, and the motor is held to this small plate in those 3 places, and then this small plate is held to the big plate in 3 other places, and that's where the actual motor mounts are. You're always going to have these rubber motor mounts, and you can get these are the old ones, and I have the new ones in there. You can get these from the Voice of Music website or buy them off of eBay or whatever you want to do. These fasteners, this one has a spacer because that's also going to help hold the motor to the plate. And we'll take that one out. And then on the other side, you can see that, oops, that's got a nut under it. Hang on, let me grab my tiny crescent wrench there, and we'll get that off of there. Okay, just loosen it up a little bit, and there we go. So just get those off of there. And then what you're going to do, okay, take that off, get that to come out of there, and then on the other side you have a short one, okay, and that's just holding the bearings together. That doesn't have anything to do with holding the motor to the plate. And again, I'm going to need the crescent wrench for this. So before you take it all the way apart, what you want to do is you want to take, something sharp, and I usually use this. And you want to scratch. You scratch this bearing housing, and you scratch the side of the motor, and you scratch the other bearing housing, all on the same side, so that you will put it back together. You put the bearings in the same way they came out. You don't spin them around. It's just a good idea. It's not absolutely essential, but it's a good idea to put it back together the way it came apart. The bearings have been in that configuration for, 70 years. You might as well put them back that way. So you get that taken apart, and then you can, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get this miserable little horseshoe clip off of here. I hate these things because a lot of times when you put a little pressure on them to try and pop them off of there, a lot of times they break. And they're not my favorite thing, but I think I got it loose, and then I can hook it with this and just, pull it off of there, okay? A lot of these 78 players have this little cooling fan blade on there, and as the motor spins, that fan spins with it, and that helps move the air around, and helps, theoretically helps keep this motor cool, because they do get hot. Under that, there's another clip, and the one in here is the same way. I just haven't put the fan back on it yet. I have it in the little bag here. I haven't put it back on our player yet. But anyway, you're going to pop this other clip off, and then there's a little felt washer under there that's probably an oil retainer to help that fan spin really smoothly. So we'll put a little oil on that when you put it back together. Now your bearings are ready to come out. And you just pull them apart, get them out of there. This one happens to have a little tiny metal washer there, and so does the one in our player. So like I said, it's virtually identical motor, so it's a good one to use to demonstrate this. So we'll set that aside. You have to make sure that that goes back in. When we put it back together, it goes right there. Alright, and then these are your upper bearings, and they usually are held in place with some kind of a keeper. Here's the capstan that runs against the idler wheel, and that's pressed on there, and that's actually keeps this bearing from coming off. But that's okay, because you've got enough room here to clean these bearings. You can see this, what they look like on the inside. And what I do is I just soak them in naphtha. I got a jar of naphtha here, lighter fluid. And let's get the, okay. Buy it like that at any department store. And this is turned a little bit green because I've had so many parts in here, but it still works. Anyway, you just drop them in there and soak them overnight. Just drop this in there as it is. It'll be fine. Okay. You soak them overnight to get all the old oil out of them, and then you take them out and you let them air dry, probably overnight again, just to make sure. And then you can put this back together. Once you do that, once you get your bearings dry, you get a good turbine oil. I use Zoom spout, but any good turbine oil, and you soak those bearings pretty good, especially the bottom bearings. You can soak those quite a bit. The upper bearings not quite so much, because you don't want them to drip down onto the motor. But you soak your bearings with oil a little bit, let them sit for a while and soak that up, and then you can just put it back together. The way that just the opposite of how we took it apart. You're going to put that little thing in there. Like we just took that out. If we're just pretending that we've got it, make sure you get your, I'm looking for my scratches there. Yep. Make sure you get your scratches lined up so that you are putting it back together the same way it came apart, and we are. And then you just put your bearings back in place like that, and okay. And then you can put it all back together. You can put your fan back on, just exactly the same way, put your little oil retainer on there and your little clip that we took off. Okay. Oops, let's just hit the floor. They always do. Anyway, the main thing you got to remember, we put that all back together. You start putting this back together with your screws and the nuts. Is what you want to do is when you tighten this down, you get your nuts in here and tighten it all down. Okay. And this is the one that had the short one on the other side. Okay. So you get that one too. Okay. And you start to tighten them down. Get them finger tight. Just get the little nuts finger tight, which is about where I've got it. Okay. And just get it like that. And then what you want to do is you want to take yourself a pretty good size screwdriver, and when you get them to that point, you just wrap it on 3 sides like that. Okay? And then you can start tightening those up a little bit more. Just tighten them up a little bit. Okay? Just give it a couple of turns, get it a little bit tighter, and then do it again. And then you can tighten it up a little bit more. In this case, you'll take a screwdriver and the crescent wrench and tighten that up a little bit more. It's about ready. Flip it over, do the same thing. Okay? And what you want to do is get that about as tight as you can get it. Just a little bit more, and then one more time, just, and that helps seat the bearings, helps get them where they belong. And then we're just going to take one more time just to make sure that that is just snugged up nicely. You don't need to kill it, just snug it up. That's good. And then that should just, that should spin free pretty well, without a lot of trouble. Okay? Well, that's how you do that. And then you just put everything back together. Like I said, make sure you got all your washers and lock washers and everything in the right place, and then you can reattach it to the plate, and that's all there is to it. We'll put we'll find that clip that got away from me. They always do. And put that fan back on there. And that should work, it should work pretty well. So you can see that I'm just about done with this one, except I've got to go ahead and put that fan back on there. That should be fine. And so that's where we're at on this. We're getting ready to go on this. Once I have the motor finished, and like I said, it's very close, I have a brand new idler wheel to put in there. And then we can start going on recapping our amplifier. That'll be next. And then we're going to have a little fun with this. This is the, I don't know if I ever showed that. This is the cover for the amplifier when I get it all done. But one of the things we're going to have a little fun with on this project is this ratty old turntable, is just shot. And I went and placed an order online, and I got myself some new flocking. Okay, and that's going to be a fun thing to do, and we'll demonstrate that very soon. We have you have the color-coded adhesive. It's you paint this on the turntable. We're going to have to take the old paint and what's left of the flocking off of it, and then you repaint it with this, which is actually tinted brown to match the flocking, and then you fill this little pump with the flocking, and while the adhesive is still wet, you find a place to put that, and then you just pump the flocking all over it with this little pump. You can see it. I can move things around. It puts out quite a bit of air. You can see it blowing that bag around. And that's how you do that. You pump the flocking onto that and let it dry, and it'll come out looking like new. So once I get the old crap stripped off of here, we'll do that. And that'll kind of be a fun little part of this project, is reflocking that. I got that. Got a couple of different colors. I got dark brown and I got a tan, because I've got some other ones that I want to do that are a different color. But that'll be a fun thing to do. So you can stand by for that. Anyway, that's where we're at. So that should be the end of part 1. So stay tuned for part 2. That'll be coming right along. We'll get going on that amplifier. Thanks for watching.